Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. It's me again, Jen. Hello! And we are here on the 19th of January, and it is a Tuesday, and we are still reading from the DaVinci Tarot deck, which is a tarot deck that I've had in my collection for quite a while, and I've just never really toyed with it very much. So this is kind of fun for me to look at these cards and really pick at them a little bit. I haven't really done any readings with these cards. I am interested to see what would happen if I did, but I think you kind of got to have the right person and in the right mood kind of thing. They're not a very exciting deck, and they're not a traditional deck either, so they don't really fit in a whole lot of places, which is a little bit like Da Vinci himself. And so, speaking of which, let's just see what we've got, what card will fit into today on this Tuesday, which is kind of rainy and kind of blah, if I'm honest. So let's see what we got for today. Maybe it'll cheer us up a little bit. All right. Well, that's not too bad anyway. We have one of the, I think this is one of the first that we've had as a minor arcana pip card that is not super exciting, one that people are like, oh, what is that? It's the Nine of Cups. And the Nine of Cups is one of those cards that's like, yeah, I've seen it. It's not really used to depict anything exciting and Hollywood-esque, but I think the message in it is really interesting, especially for a Tuesday, on a dreary kind of Tuesday. I like the positioning of the characters in this card. I do not like the positioning of the cups as much. Typically, the Nine of Cups, the cups themselves, the vessels of whatever they might be, are kind of lined up behind the primary individual. And usually there's only one person in the card as well. So this is interesting to have two people. But I do think that it kind of shows a little bit more of the meaning of the card when there are two people in it, because it's not just the one guy kind of staring out at the reader or the person looking at the card. So typically you have the one guy sitting in front of these cups, or possibly it is a female figure and there may be shelves of cups behind her, but either way, the cups are sort of guarded behind the individual. And this allows us to kind of see it in a couple different ways. We know that cups typically mean emotion and kind of relationships and those kinds of things. Well, if you have an individual who has all of their emotions and all of their relationship experiences and things kind of set on a shelf or set back, and they're sitting in front of it, they're protecting it in some way. So either they are protecting this emotion, their relationships, or how they feel about relationships in a way that is like, I've seen some stuff and I don't have a lot of trust. Or it's, hey, I have a lot of information, but I might not be willing to share it with you. Or I might be putting my heart on a shelf, so to speak. Or I'm a little emotionally unavailable. So all of those kinds of things are typically predicted or depicted, sorry, in these cards, in the card of the Nine of Cups. What I like about this with the two people is that you have sort of this one man kind of over the shoulder of the other saying, hey, let me give you some advice. Hey, let me help you. Let me support you. And just the hand gestures alone can they show a lot. I can see that one is feeling very supportive and is trying to kind of lean in a little on the other, while the other's hand is sort of up in almost like a cutting sort of way of like, stop, no, I don't want this. So either you have the person sitting in the front has all of the information and all of the advice and won't share with the other who is trying to peer over his shoulder, so to speak, or it's the one on the shoulder is trying to offer kind of advice or support or something, and the one sitting down is like, no, I don't want it. So the just the juxtaposition of their poses, the energy, and even their facial expressions, there's a lot of story going on in these two guys. So I really like it, and I think that it says a lot more than just having one individual seated with their arms crossed protecting these cups and protecting their kind of emotions. because there's a conversation happening now. It's, well, are you protecting your emotions because you're snobbish and you don't want to deal with other people, or are you protecting your emotions because you've been hurt before and you are hiding more than anything else, shielding yourself? So when this card comes up, I like to look at it a little bit like the advice giver, I guess, of this person behind, and saying, hey, you know what? We've all been there. We've all had a rough emotional experience. We have all seen some stuff, and you're not the only one going through this. So, in one way, it's you're not the only one going through this. Suck it up and deal. And it's also, hey, you're not the only one going through this. Let me give you some advice and some support. So it's one or the other, and it really depends on the situation. This is a card that can be read in a lot of different ways depending on what the surrounding cards have to say about it. But ultimately, it is about guarding emotions, whether that's, I don't really know that there's a positive way to say guarding emotions, but positive or negative way of guarding your emotions. I do know that I'm curious to see what the kind of exploration journaling questions are for this card. So, without further ado, I need to check this out, and I hope you will indulge me in this as well. So, let's see what I've got here. All right, let's see. Here we go. They're calling them 9 of chalices in this book. That's what I like about this one. It's kind of a little bit different with some of the names. So, whose advice am I rejecting and why? That's very much this, yes. And what is the news I don't want to hear? What value might this news hold? And how can I find an advisor that I can trust? So, this is a really super interesting way of depicting this card, of picking it apart. I I agree. It's very much like I don't want to hear about it sort of thing. When you put your emotions on a shelf and you kind of sit in front of them and go, "No, this is what I believe and this is the way it is, and I don't want to see anything else." You you get this card and you're like, "Well, why are you avoiding this? Why don't you want to hear this information? Why do you want to hide from this information?" And sometimes we double down on the things that we feel. I think that that's really an interesting way of journaling about this card. So, for those who are journaling or trying to do some journaling, I hope that those kind of prompt you to a little bit of insight, and maybe will allow you to write something more than just what you did today, kind of thing. All right. So, as always, until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, and I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday and a wonderful rest of your week. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.